Hi, everybody.
Only 2 numbers this time. Plot twist. Hey, guys, quick disclaimer. We don't know what this episode's gonna sound like. We just went through 30 minutes of trial and error.
Yeah, Seth's microphone always sounds crappy on the podcast. Like, I don't know. I try to do my best to make sure it doesn't come across crappy in the final, file,
Editing.
but
Yeah.
it sounds pretty rancid in my editing. So we just threw a bunch of settings at the wall to see if one of them might stick and make things sound better. So, hope it doesn't come across bad for you guys.
And second thing, before we even say our names, if you guys are in the Discord, I'm posting a picture because I got an announcement to make. JJ, go to the announcements in the Discord.
Uh-oh, should I be concerned?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. It's wonderful, actually.
Oh my goodness. There's puppies.
I got a German Shepherd.
Oh my goodness.
I got a German Shepherd puppy. She's 12 weeks. Her name's Bella.
Aww.
She's great. And that's the announcement. And with that, welcome back to Nerd Rant. I'm Dr. Zombring, also known as Seth, with my co-host
JJAK Junior Wolf.
Woo!
And this is Nerd Rant. Woo!
All right, that was.
Yep.
This is a day. This is a day
And
and a
as
half.
per the ceremony, there's my soda
Nice.
can.
I don't have anything. However, I do have another announcement.
Oh
which is
gosh.
So I uploaded I finally uploaded the first person video that I recorded a year ago. Which is really, so the video itself isn't doing great. I mean, it got like 40, 50 views. That's not terrible. However, one of the shorts of me flying down is about 5,000 views.
Bruh.
And it has like 24 hours of watch time. And I'm now at 280 subscribers.
Yay, dude, you are flying up.
Dude, no, it's actually, I really like looking at analytics. I'm thinking about doing a shorter video, looking at 2023 versus 2024. Other than watch time, I think I'm very much on record because, on track. Because I gained like 107 subscribers last year, and we're only a month and a half in. I'm already at 30.
Yeah, no, I think
However,
those
watch
shorts are
time-
really boosting you.
Oh, yeah, views, right? I'm already at almost 11,000 versus 45,000.
Mhm.
However, watch time. I have that one stream that has like 900 hours of watch time.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit tricky to beat.
Very true.
That is still my most viewed video. Not even shorts have beat that. My most viewed short is when I killed you with a flintlock, and that has almost 6,000. Shut up, Siri. It's not even Siri. It's screen reader.
Bruh, I heard that.
Anyway, hey, JJ, we're 3 minutes in. I think I finished any announcements. Do you have any announcements? Since I just did like 4.
I don't think so. I'm still a little bit sick. Recovering. We're getting there. I don't think I'm not very special.
And so I think we can say the episode now.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, Seth?
So, actually, sorry, another announcement. Little teaser. Next week's topic, I'm going to give you one word. Sora. Whoa, if you know what that is, you're going to be excited.
Everybody just
but
got
this
chills
week,
at home.
So JJ wanted to talk about something, but we're gonna wait. So that's another thing to look forward to. We're just gonna wait for some more info, some more confirmations coming out. But I thought of a cool thing. The other day, JJ's like, "Yo, you should you should go check out Tina's Wonderland." I'm like, "Okay, I heard about this. Seems pretty fun. It's part of Borderlands," and it made me think about the certain topic because we have games like that. And then there's a big debate in Fortnite with the realistic, and I saw that one guy that's really annoying, but I saw an interesting conversation and and some comments about it being realistic. Oh, it's just another generic realistic game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're going to talk about. Not graphics, but art styles with stuff like Borderlands cell shaded. We have old school like Cuphead. We have ultra realistic like Unrecorded, which we're going to talk about. And then we have our really high realistic like Cyberpunk and all those types of games. So we're going to talk about the aesthetics of video games, some stuff that we like, some that we don't like, and some examples that we specifically like of our favorite.
Absolutely. I feel like this one's going to be a cool one because in a world where, graphics have really recently been evolving to one place, and that's kind of that more realism looking style, it's going to be nice to, find some of these games that aren't really going for that. And while, yes, they like to kick up their graphics, it's nice to see that people are going unique places with it instead of just copying the same formula.
because that's exactly right. Like I'm kind of tired of seeing the same old thing, everything. So it's nice to see some range. But don't forget, we're in a world where yes, everything's getting hyper realistic, and yet the number one most sold game is still blocks.
Yep, this is very true. The number one most played game, Fortnite. That's not very. I mean, now so I guess a little less, but
yeah, yes. Now
it's cartoony and it's character
it
based, you know.
Yes,
the skins.
It's really annoying. I was trying to play a map the other day where I went it down to 60 FPS and have the lumens on, and I tried to put the most like war because I thought it was supposed to be like a war map. It's just a zombie. It was still really cool, but like the Fortnite character still just is Fortnite, and that's the big thing that's kind of separating UEFN from being able to take advantage and making their own game, because your skin is still Fortnite.
Yeah,
and I don't mind that, but it has that Fortnite like plastic aesthetic like layer over top of all the skins that you can't really get rid of, and that's gonna be really cool when we get our own skin models in UEFN.
Yeah.
But yeah, where do we want to get started? Because this is a lot, right? We have lots of different styles we can go about.
I mean,
so we want to start with
let's start with the one you mentioned,
2D?
Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I mean, I feel like that's a good base to start off of here, because obviously most of the games on the market are kind of like 3D games, right? Whether it's an FPS or a third person, it's 3D, and you know, there's a lot of ways you could go with that. Borderlands is one of the most well-known ones, especially for its unique style. It's like, man, how would you describe that? It's kind of like a comic book-esque style, I'd say.
Yeah, you were kind of saying like in Fortnite, like cel-shaded, right? Like, I think cel-shade is a good thing because, yes, it's 3D and all this, but you have this distinct outline, and especially when Fortnite had its Rift Zone with the Borderland, that's the big thing that like visually you can see.
Yeah, it kind of looks like all of the cel-shaded stuff though is almost like hand-drawn. Like almost all of the textures have an element that looks like it's hand-shaded, stuff like that. So it kind of has more of a artsy feel to it, but still manages to maintain its kind of like darker theming.
Yeah, I'd say that's good. Like handwritten. I think like hand-drawn, cel-shaded.
Yeah, because there's a difference between this kind of cel shading and something like Scarlet Nexus. Completely different kind of cel shading there.
And it's very distinct too. Like when you see it, that's Borderlands. In fact, it's so Borderlands that when Joe and C for this season's Battle Pass, I'm like, bro, it's the Borderlands style, and JJ got mad.
Yeah, no, it's true though. It looks just like a character from Borderlands.
But yeah, it's really, I think, to like start it off, like, and we'll talk more about specifically like the realism different or styles later, but like I'm not a huge fan of it unless it's the intent. And most of these games, the intent is not supposed to be realistic. Like we're shooting magic crystal rock gun things with shields on the front. That is not realistic, so I don't want it to look realistic. However, it has that realistic models, right? Some games have super crazy, like certain alien models, right? Like it's super far-fetched character designs. So I don't mind the realistic model designs, right? Of guns or cars or something. But it's visually, and this is the big thing with realism for me, is I play video games to get away from real life. I do not want to just play real life unless there's a specific reason, and there's 2 games which I talk about. So most games generally don't fit that. So when I'm playing a fantasy, like you said, like it's D&D mixed with Borderlands, if I'm playing that, I don't want it to be real. Actually, you're gonna love this. I saw a short the other day of be warned, our campaign is very, very, very realistic. And then it's the player crying because her character is working a 9 to 5 and has no money.
Bruh.
It's like, that's exactly the opposite of what I want. I'm playing D&D, I'm playing this video game to get out of real life. But, so that's why I like more cartoony, right? I also just like that 2D cartoon aesthetic versus CGI. So like 2D animation is some of my favorite. That's why I like anime so much, because I like that aesthetic. So when I have a video game that can give me both, it gives me that cartoony, hand-drawn, animated feel, but with 3D models. It's so refreshing as a game.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think there's definitely a certain charm to it. Like, it draws in a lot of people. Like, as we can tell, Borderlands 1 I don't think it's a secret. It wasn't the best game in the world, but the amount of people it brought in, that game alone, the money it made was able to fund 2 sequels. Which,
and then
like,
look
that's
at where else it
insane.
went with collabing with Epic Games, Tiny T, like all this and that. Like it's so much bigger than that now.
Yeah. And, say what you will about Gearbox having other franchises, but this Borderlands franchise, this is their baby. So, like...
Wait, they have other franchises?
Apparently. They do sports games, apparently.
Oh, okay, that's not a joke. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw on their resume. But anyways, it's definitely a style that draws in a lot of people. It's not something that people are going to see and be like, oh, gross, it's unique.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not something that it deals with. And we'll talk throughout, and this is a word, like identity, right? Like with its visuals, its identity. And Borderlands has a very distinct and unique identity that no one else will ever steal from it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's almost like it's mentally trademarked that style. So if anybody else tries to make a game in that style, or a movie even, then people will be like, oh, it looks like Borderlands.
Fortnite's a perfect example. Quite literally the first thing that came to mind, Borderlands. Not so shaded, not comic, Borderlands.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know how you feel about this. I think Borderlands is also probably is like in the history books for one of the most iconic art styles for a video game ever.
Absolutely.
No 2-bit like Borderlands is one of the most iconic and memorable, whether you like this gameplay or not. I don't mind it. It's not my favorite, but I do kind of enjoy it. But again, that art style is just fantastic.
Absolutely. And it's not really just for visuals either. Like, there are so many technical benefits to why they made it this way. Because, like, you can see if you go, like, on your PlayStation or Xbox store and look under, like, the DLCs for these games, all they simply had to do was release a pack with updated textures, and that's it. It's a free pack that you can download, and that game is now next gen. It takes practically nothing for them to upgrade the visuals of this game because they are so simple and straightforward. They're not trying to be hyper-realistic. You don't need an upgraded engine for, like, the next smoothness
Comic
level
series.
of models.
Like, yeah.
But it brings it to a point where all they could really upgrade from that point forward is the details in textures.
Or models, right? Like joints and stuff. I think that's really the only thing that's changed. Just maybe some fluid like crouching and sprinting, which we've seen throughout the generations.
And so because of that, they're able to make this kind of ageless franchise where even now you can go back and play the older Borderlands games and it still looks just as good as the new ones because that iconic style is what carries the games, not the high detail graphics.
And again, like from that artistic, right? When you're actually playing, it doesn't have, some games don't have crouching, there's no sprinting, and that's where they're able to upgrade. And I think that's better than trying to spend so much time on visuals. Like, we look at Fortnite, right? Look at how much they try to advertise UEF, like the Unreal 5 graphics at the beginning of Chapter 4. Imagine they spent all that time making Season 1 good. Because, my God, Chapter 4 Season 1 was buggy, and I don't think it had anything to do with the graphics. It's just they were focusing on that, so they didn't have time to focus on maybe the map a little bit more. Whereas Borderlands is able to fully focus on story and gameplay now. They can focus on making the movement more fluid because they already have the style from years ago, and they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, so there are many aspects to choosing a style like this, and it comes to other games as well. It's like once you have your assets that you need and your style that you desire, you don't really have to use your resources on upgrading your visuals. You can focus on making a better experience for the player in general, which is what Fortnite failed to do.
Yeah, and I think that's what we saw with like each chapter, right? When there's a new POI, more so in Chapter 1, because Chapter 2 we had a lot more collab, and 3 and 4, etc. But like Chapter 1, it kind of had that aesthetic and maybe a little bit of graphics, right? The lighting and stuff changed. You could very clearly tell that from like Season 1 and 2 versus 7 and 8. But almost every new like prefab and like creative generally looked the same because it has that baseline. Now, yes, it's very different. Like the capsule's very different to the modern house or the broken house, you can tell it's Fortnite. It has that aesthetic and it makes it easier to create new things.
Yes. And I think there's a right way to kind of upgrade some of these visuals too. Like you mentioned lighting. I think the best example of, keeping that style while upgrading your technology would be when Minecraft RTX first became a thing, right? Minecraft is very iconic in its style. You got the blocky blocks, you got your textures that are all pixely, that kind of thing. But then you add RTX in, right? It adds ray tracing, it adds reflections, stuff like that. Like those are things that they're not going to diminish the Minecraft style. You will still easily recognize this Minecraft. But it's technology that makes the game more immersive, more interesting, and more visually, what's the word I'm looking for? Entertaining to look at?
Sure.
Yeah.
A word.
Yep, all the words.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's a question. Do you have any updates on RTX for console, by the way? Because, like, I'm pretty sure PlayStation can also do it, and they also haven't had it. I'm pretty sure they canceled it on Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
That's sad, because that would be fun. I was just showing this one guy. We were playing Minecraft, and I was using my realistic texture pack. Imagine you have a realistic texture pack with, like, but also terrifying and amazing at the same time. Anyway, but the fact that you're bringing up Minecraft, I want to move on to some other games and styles. Let's talk about that pixely art style with stuff like Minecraft, Stardew Valley, and Terraria.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's another very unique art style that no single game really has. Like Minecraft, yes. Terraria, yes. Like it has its own, but like it's not very like cemented. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's just pixelated. Minecraft's a little bit more with its blocks, but if you just took that block and stood it sideways in Terraria, it's gonna look the same, right? Like, yeah, it's just pixelated. But that's still a big thing, like 8-bit. That's kind of where we started, right? Like Doom, one of the first Doom games, was 8-bit. Obviously a little different 8-bit to something like Terraria, but it definitely has that same style. And the fact that it's still popular now means something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's another one of those styles that, makes it easy for the developers because all they have to do is make a sprite and maybe give it an animation of those pixels moving. But you don't have to apply textures, you don't really have to use a 3D model. It's like, it makes it a lot easier to add new things and change things as needed.
Yeah, because you don't have to, especially when it's 2D, like Minecraft or Stardew, you don't have to then not only make the model, you don't have to do the other sides, it's just a flat stick, like a few pixels of brown, and that's a stick. You don't have to add reflection or this or that, it is just a few pixels in a line.
Yeah, and when it comes to 2D games like that, there is no need to ever update your graphics because you have truly made a timeless piece. It is a 2D game, right? There's no 3D, there's no lighting, there's nothing else to it apart from those pixels. And so you really have no need to 10 years down the line put out an update that, enhances the quality of Pixel X,
And I think we do see some update, but again, I feel like one of the big updates is lighting. Like you said, like lighting in Terraria. Like you look at the original, or like the really old school console, like when Stampy was playing versus now, I feel like lighting's a big thing. Like you can play with mods, right? And when the mods changes the brightness, and when it's all bright, that kind of looks like the original. It just adds that dynamic lighting when you hold a torch and it spreads out, like a U, like it has a circle, kind of like Minecraft lights. Or there's a little bit of lighting, and maybe not lighting as in light, but maybe like gradient level with some Minecraft textures, right? They have updated their textures of certain things, but a lot of it's not so bright, right? Like it's not all bright gray. You dim it down a bit, and that changes it so much, yet it's not exactly something that you need to be a rocket scientist to do.
Yeah. It's fairly simple and straightforward, and with games like that, it makes it so much easier to understand as well, like looking at it.
It is. And then with also games like this, it allows freedom for other people, right? Like we look at texture packs for Minecraft and Terraria, and because you do not have to have such a crazy model, like to have to like go around and do every, like you have to do the shoe and this and that of every creature, it's just a rectangle for Minecraft. Yeah. Like you can very quickly, you could make it hyper realistic and make it like 64 by 64 bit, Or you can make it a 4x4, or you have the plastic where it's like a 2x2 pixels. And that has almost completely changed the game. Like when I'm playing this realistic Minecraft texture pack, it almost feels like a completely different game.
Yeah, honestly, it lowers that barrier for people who are interested. Like, I think that's one reason why Minecraft is so popular, especially on PC, is because if I'm like an 8-year-old kid and I'm like, oh, I have this cool idea for a new block, I could design that in my web browser and then download the file and apply it.
Some Microsoft Paint. Like, that's all you...
Yeah. Like, it's
or just
not
go to a
hard.
website for Minecraft text. Like, it's that simple. Like, there's plenty out there. Download it, upload it straight to the folder, and boom, you can do it.
It engages players in a whole new way simply because it's not that hard to enter into, changing it.
Whereas if I want to make the Leviathan axe from God of War be a spear, it's kind of easy. Whether, not even from like the uploading it side of it, but like making that model, because then you have all the throwing, and because that's the other thing, right? Sure, Terraria has its projectiles, but again, the projectiles are just a thing that just goes in a straight line or curves, but it's not an animated projectile. Minecraft, that's not very complicated. You're swinging it, and you don't even have to animate that, because it's already swinging the same as everything else, right? So I can easily change my sword to be a spear. Like, I can make the model maybe a little bit longer or something. Like, so easy to, again, that quite literally does not do anything gameplay-wise, but it feels like a completely different game because I can make, I don't know, the shovel spears, right? Because it's an adventure map. And now I have a whole new weapon.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I think, like you said, like, we have our cel-shaded, like, Borderlands style that makes it so it looks high quality, even old school, right? Like, the old look just as good as the new. But then pixelated allows for a lot of freedom for the community to kind of do whatever they want, whether they're making blocks, skins, whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely one of the more popular styles out there because it's, easier entry level.
But there's obviously a lot more to this. So do we want to talk about maybe old school cartoons before we get into the other side of like realistic? So like something like Cuphead?
Yeah. I'm not sure what other games other than Cuphead are really in that style. Like, I know there's some out there, but none really got as popular as Cuphead.
I think that's more of a show thing.
Yeah.
Right, like more TV shows. But like, that doesn't mean there's not enjoyability, right? Or looking at old school games. And I think, again, it's just kind of like that nostalgia fact. I think that's where it is, right? Because Cuphead not only does it have the visuals, but also has a lot of audio design that also makes it sound like an old school show.
Yeah, I mean, we said like Borderlands is kind of hand-drawn. This is literally the definition of hand-drawn. Like, all of the assets in here are digitally drawn and animated. So it's a whole nother level of animation.
Yes, and I think, again, it has its own community. I think all of these, I feel like, generally, I don't know about you, I feel like when you find somebody that really, really likes a certain art style, they also enjoy games with that art style. So if you find someone that likes the super realistic, they generally play other realistic and don't like these more cartoony. If you like somebody likes blocky, they generally like something like Minecraft, Terraria, Stardew as well. If you like somebody that likes the cartoon, they're gonna play other cartoon games.
Yeah.
And I feel like the old school definitely doesn't have as big of a data like source. What am I saying? Not inventory. Not data pack. Pool.
This
data
is fun.
pool.
I'm just gonna,
you know what I'm saying, right?
I'm just gonna let you ride in your
Data
not
pool.
words here.
Oh my god. It's not data pool. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying help me. I'm gonna figure this out. But you know what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Not data pool. Oh my god, dude.
This struggle is real.
What am I saying, JJ? I give up. Like, there's definitely like the better term with like data. What is it?
No, I'm not gonna tell you, bro.
Data. We're going to Google.
What do you even Google to find that?
Data pool word.
Data pool synonym.
Is it data pool? That does not sound right.
How about source material?
No.
No.
It's like a collection of data collected for like an experiment. It's not data. Oh my god, bro. Not data mining. What the heck?
Oh my goodness.
Not database. Hold up. No, hold up. What's a group? A group of data. That's a better Google term.
Yeah. A group of data. A data herd.
Groups data. We're going to Wiki. What does Wiki say? Group data or data?
Almost there.
Okay. I don't know. We're talking about frequencies and freaking. Oh, there's the fancy E from calculus. Why is that on this Wiki page? Wiki, you're making me more confused, bro. Data set? Maybe data set.
That sounds right.
That sounds so much better than data pool. We're gonna go with data set. I don't know if that's the term I'm thinking. My brain just full had a strong. Oh my god.
Comment down below if you have any idea what it was.
Hey, JJ, what were we talking about?
Cartoony games not having as big
Oh
of
yeah,
a
there's
data set.
not of those. Yeah, there's not a lot of them out there. However, I do like that aesthetic, and I wish there was more. I do think there's definitely an audience that wants them, just maybe not the creators, because they probably don't make as much as, say, the 3D games.
I mean, I will say,
Which
like,
is sad.
This art style, like this kind of like old school art style, is kind of ambidextrous in that way, though, because it can be 3D or it could be 2D. Because obviously we have Cuphead, but then there's a game like Bendy, right? Bendy has that same kind of cartoony art style, but it's 3D instead.
I kind of get.
Because, like, if you look at all the characters, those characters have been compared multiple times to Cuphead characters. Because the eyes are animated the same way, the shapes of their bodies are very similar. Like, it has those kind of details that run in between, except it's translating that into 3D instead of keeping it 2D.
Yeah, I feel like Bendy is a very unique, because yes, like when you're looking at like, say, the world itself, it's all that 2D Disney like drawn, but then when you're looking at the characters, like the ink monsters and stuff, it's like reflective goo.
Because
which
they're
is
3D.
Very old school. But
I
like,
mean, nothing in Cuphead is pixely.
No, but it has that it has like a pixelated film over it for that old school aesthetic.
I mean, I'd say that's more a film aesthetic, not pixels, because film didn't use pixels back then. So it'd almost be more like a film strip, like having those black lines or specks across the screen.
Yeah.
So that would be like an old
not
film reel.
Reflective, like I'm looking at a picture from Cuphead, and it's like their reflective is quite literally a white line on the balloon.
But like,
whereas
Cuphead
does
that's kind of where that
Bendy.
translation hits the wall, though. Is like with Cuphead, you can have that over the entire screen the entire time because it is a 2D game, and you'll never be looking anywhere that won't have it. But in Bendy, they just apply that to the textures, because you have to be able to look around at everything, and having a filter over your turnable head is kind of not normal. So they just apply that same effect to the textures instead, so that as you're looking at different things, you still see that kind of film grain.
When did Cuphead come out, by the way?
2018?
2017.
2017. And what, its DLC came out like a year or two ago.
What was the DLC called?
Delicious Last Course DLC.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, bruh.
June 30th. Oh my god. That's is that a classic now? Is 7 years ago classic? Because I remember Cuphead, and I love Cuphead. Like,
honestly,
watching people play
that's
and
gonna be
struggle.
one that like lives in the Hall of Fame of gamers.
That sucks though. That is already a classic. We're becoming boomers. Gaming boomers. Anyway, that's there. We're now 30 minutes in. We've covered some cartoony. Do we want to talk about that middle point, something like Cyberpunk or God of War, and then we'll end it with some more realistic, like hyper-realistic and stuff like that. So I'd say a perfect example would be like Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, it's very much supposed to be real, but it's not like you can't tell it's fake.
Yeah, it's like you look at it and you can absolutely see, like, yes, this isn't proportionate, or like this has the wrong lighting, or this is a little bit more, clean looking than it should be. But that's on purpose, right? They don't want it to be hyper-realistic. That's not their goal. Their goal is to create a world that immerses you, but also lets you know, hey, this is still fantasy.
Yeah, like God of War, right? Like, again, just like that. Like, it's very much supposed to be real, but then God of War also has all the fancy, like, flashes from the Leviathan axe and stuff, which is supposed to be like, yes, this is Greek myth or Norse.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I did watch Side Tangent because we can do what we want. I looked at a history. How much lore do you know about God of War? Because I was
Like
very
none.
confused 2018. Because we're talking about trying to fight, like, Odin and stuff, but, like, I thought it was other ones. But apparently the original games up through God of War 3, like way back through God of War 3, was Greek mythology, fighting Zeus and Poseidon and stuff like that. And now we switch to a different Midgard where he is fighting the Norse mythology with like Thor and Odin and all those types of characters.
That's
which is
weird.
Really cool. Really cool. I love it. That's why I think I like this, because I like that kind of culture. But when you're looking, it has all these fancy things because it's, gods fighting.
Yeah.
Whereas there's nothing crazy about Assassin's Creed, right? I mean, technically there's a lot because you're going back, kind of. But like when you're playing, it's just real life, except with some heightened superhuman abilities.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you can literally summon down, like, phantom spirits from the sky, or duplicate yourself and have, like, a hologram assassin jump down on somebody and kill them.
I don't know if you're joking or not.
Oh, buddy, you're in for a treat. Anyways.
But yeah, like, I feel like that is the most common video game art style now. Is that somewhat realistic? Like, it's very real people. They're not like crazy proportion, like aliens or something. It's real. But then just visually, there's one thing blocking it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the lighting. Maybe it's the textures. That's just blocking it from being that next level of realism.
And that's not to say it's a bad thing, right? Like,
no.
It's definitely something that gives it more character and keeps it feeling like, that escape from reality. It keeps it feeling like a video game, that thing that you want to go to to get away from life.
Yeah, because, like, again, like, if I'm playing, like, something like Call of Duty and that's super hyper realistic and I'm playing the campaign, I don't know if I really want to be fighting, like, someone that quite literally looks like a world leader. So that... I don't know if I want to be just like that. I want to be honest. I want to do some crazy, fictional, but also somewhat realistic, like with real guns, like shooting this kind of thing, right? Because it also allows you to do stuff that you wish you can do, right? Because there's two levels to that. It's visually, but also, like, visually and physically, right? You want to be able to do something like shoot a gun. Obviously, I don't think you're old enough to own a gun, and I cannot go in my backyard, which is next to a highway, to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
Not to mention we're not allowed to own fully automatic, and, like, there's a lot of legal things. Whereas if I really wanted to, I could go shoot a 50 cal in Call of Duty right now.
Yeah.
No one's gonna stop me.
It allows you to do something that you're not able to.
But then it's also visually, right? Like, I don't want to see real life. I want to play a cartoon, right? I want to play an anime, and there's so many games that are like that.
Yeah.
So what else do we want to talk about? Like, because definitely this is where that next level also, because it's 3D, also adds that difficulty of making new models, which makes it harder because you have to, instead of just pixels like Terraria, you have to build the world itself because it's 3D.
You have to build the world, apply textures, have that model be slightly 3D so it doesn't just look like you slapped a sticker on a wall. It involves a lot more to immerse the player because you're kind of making it look even slightly real.
So it's harder, and I think that's... I was about to say we should cut them some slack, but no, with how long games have been like this, we should not give all. Some games definitely have like an excuse, but most games, when they struggle with some certain textures, there's some problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I will say there are certain games that have managed to find ways around this. Like I will say Diablo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When I zoom in, it is literally so low quality on some of those textures, and like nothing is really 3D. But because they are zoomed out, when you're that far away from the textures you're seeing, it looks high quality. And so, like, not to bash them, but like they found a way to kind of work around having to be that detailed.
Like, yeah, looking at Diablo 3 versus Diablo 4, obviously Diablo 3 is older, it's not going to have the fancy stuff, whereas Diablo 4 is very new, and like you can kind of look at it, and it looks kind of pixelate, like old school, like Diablo 3, but at the same time it doesn't. It has that nice graphics or visuals.
Yeah. Like I just played through Diablo 4 for anyone who didn't know, and I will say there are two different types of cutscenes in the game. There's the, pre-rendered cinematic cutscenes where it's like the characters talking to each other or something's happening and it'll be all up in their faces and stuff. Those look great. Those are fantastic because they're pre-rendered. Then you go to the cutscenes that are like there's a narrator talking over and the camera's just kind of panning around the environment. Those ones, it's not pre-rendered. It's just using the world that you are currently in, the space you're currently in, and it's looking at that. And because that camera then gets closer to some of those textures, you see, that doesn't quite look detailed. Why am I this close to that?
Yeah. Which I think is also kind of interesting to see. Like, we kind of talked about that a little bit throughout this podcast, is how they're able to take advantage of what their artistic choice is. So, like, them being able to zoom out, it makes it harder to see super close, so they're able to get away with not spending so much time at the really fine details.
They don't need 4K textures because you're not going to be that close to see it.
Yeah. So that's Diablo. And I think, yeah, like you said, I think they did a really good way of doing that. What's a game that you think didn't do, because you play more games like this, what's a game that you think didn't do a super great job of, like, making 3D? Like, it's supposed to be realistic, and whether that's the lighting or whether that be the camera angle locked in first person or third person.
So, I will say, this one felt kind of awkward. Hogwarts Legacy. They kind of were in an awkward space. They were trying to make a hyper-realistic game because obviously, you have Hogwarts, this magical school with magic everywhere and everything is magical. And then you also are making a game that is, like, hugely sold on the fact that it's a next-gen game. And so you have all this magical stuff, but you can't really make that magical stuff look realistic because it doesn't exist in real life. So you have, like, this ground over here that looks really good, but then you have this fire on it that's magical, and it's like, well, that doesn't look right. That just looks kind of awkward. And so
I see what you're saying. It's like two different aesthetics kind of clashing together, and it kind of has this very distinct line that's kind of separates
the game
it.
itself is beautiful, like flying around on your broom, like it is like stunning graphically. I love it. But then you kind of see these points where the two worlds are kind of clashing with each other, and it would almost benefit from being a little bit more like the Assassin's Creed, something like that, where it's like you can still easily tell that this is a video game, and that would kind of set it in a similar place as, having that magic in there, right? It looks kind of realistic, but not all the way there.
And I think with the new consoles like PS5, Xbox Series S and X, with the ability to do, like, these crazy lighting, like ray tracing, lumens, all that kind of stuff, and as the consoles go forward, because obviously, yes, PC is the main thing, but let's be real, most gamers probably are console players between Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. So that's where they're going to be making the games probably for, right? And as those get better, whether they can do a good job or not, I feel like we're going to be seeing the graphic, like the common visual is going to get more and more realistic.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of how it goes, right? Like, let's look at animation, right? Like, it was obviously like flip book. Like it wasn't super great. And then it got better, and we had like things like Prince of Egypt with maybe a 3D background with 2D characters. But then now it's CGI, and now CGI evolves. We're not getting to see that stuff anymore. I wish we had good 2D animated movies. That's why I loved The Boy and the Heron so much. We don't see that anymore. I'm not saying Mario has a bad plot, but visually, I do not like the Mario movie because it's just realistic CGI. I don't want to see that in a movie. And I feel like as games evolve, we're going to see the same thing. We're going to see more and more hyper-realistic games with like realistic textures and hair and stuff.
Yeah.
Going away from more so like God of War. I think God of War and Assassin's Creed is where I want it to stop. I don't want it to go past that point. I want it to, maybe we can update some stuff, but I want it to be very clearly look real and like real people, but still be able to tell it's a video game.
One more that I do want to mention here while we're talking about 3D stuff, and I know how you feel about these, but there's the Lego games, right? I feel like these ones are honestly a good timeline to kind of show the evolution of graphics while also keeping their style. Because obviously we have Legos, right? Legos are Legos. You can't really change that. And so when you
Lego's a Lego?
So when
Lego
you make
by
a
Lego?
Lego game, you're going to have Lego characters, you're going to have Lego weapons, Lego studs as currency, right? Like that's how Lego formulates their games. And then you kind of look as, you know, the different games come out. Like you look at Lego Star Wars 1. Well, okay, they have Lego characters, but not all the environments are Lego. Because, you know, they didn't really have the capability to do that with everything back then. But then you move forward to something like the Lego movie video game or Lego Star Wars, like the newest one. A lot more of that is Lego because they now have the technology to, you know, put that 3D texture in there, you know, make it look like the light is actually reflecting off plastic, you know? And so they're kind of, while graphics are progressing, they're able to use their style more efficiently.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to say like another thing with Lego being able to see like the evolution is looking at, say, clutch powers.
Yeah.
Like that's old school Lego. Like that's how old do you think clutch powers is?
Oh gosh.
I know we've definitely asked this question before.
I'm gonna go 16 years.
16 years. It's quite old. Not quite that old. 14.
14. I was close.
2010.
I was close.
2010. So seeing that's 14 years ago, and seeing something like the Lego movie, we quite literally see the seam on his hair. But yet, it's still fake. It's still, I forget, that was CGI or
yes, it was
animated?
CGI.
I saw a short about that really recently. Like, it looks so good, yet it is all completely computer generated. It's not stop motion or anything, any of it. But like looking at realism and taking advantage of that fancy lighting, but still being able to do a cartoony, fictional world.
I think Lego's really done that well and been able to hold their own with that space. And it's a perfect example of, you know, keeping that identity of your games while also taking advantage of the new tools that you get with advancing technology.
Question, I don't know if you know this. How much longer do you think it takes for them to make shows and movies with that fancy visuals, like the Lego movie visuals? Because like that's the only problem now. We have all of Lego Ninjago for years and years, and we have all these old Lego movies and shows. I want all that, but I want it in the Lego style, like comedy, but also visuals.
Yeah, I think,
and obviously that's
honestly
not
something.
In time, we'll get a lot.
Something like the Lego movie, I'm pretty sure it took less time to make, like animate specifically, than it took to animate, you know, Spider-Verse. So it's, in the end, it's a more efficient way of doing things, whether or not, you know, you like the style, that's kind of a personal thing, but it definitely is a more efficient way to do it, and as technology advances, there are shortcuts they can take while also keeping that quality. So, you know.
Let's see. 3 years, to be precise. It would have taken closer to 10 and required about 15 million Lego bricks if it was old-fashioned stop motion. So with the CGI, it took about 3 years to animate the Lego movie. So, because like, yeah, now I love that, but that's the only problem I have with the Lego is I want more of it. But obviously, we don't have 15 years of stockpiled shows in that art style.
We have a bunch of games that you could play, but somebody has vendetta against them.
I do. I don't care.
Sigh.
Does it have as good as good character development as Emmett though? Because it's not Emmett.
Play the
and
Lego
Emmett's
Movie video
only
game.
Emmett. But does that have behind the scenes on how they made the double-decker couch?
Bruh.
I bet it doesn't.
Bruh.
Anyway, so I think before we get into realistic, I think we can kind of transition into a realistic with a perfect example, just like the Lego, of kind of like identity and how it can be good and bad. And I think we should talk about the evolution of Fortnite with its crazy graphics, with its cartoony graphics, with this and that. Then we can transition into the super realistic stuff. Sound good?
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously you didn't play Chapter 1, but you've seen plenty of Chapter 1, whether that be through me or YouTube, whatever, right? And I feel like Fortnite has such an iconic visuals from their art style, especially with what games they were competing with at the time. Obviously it came after Fortnite, but look at something like Apex, PUBG, and Warzone. Those are all around that time, and they all were battle royales, and they all have either realistic like PUBG or Warzone, or they have a more, what would you say, Apex? Like, it's more realistic like Warzone than Fortnite, but it's not real like Warzone.
It's kind of like,
it's a weird in between.
It's kind of like the same situation that Scarlet Nexus is. It's like the characters are very animated, whereas the environment itself is kind of a little bit more realism.
Yeah, I'd say that's good. Like, the characters themselves are very animated, like, you know, something cartoony, whereas the world itself is much more realistic than something like Fortnite at the start. And obviously we saw stuff, because guess what? It also came out and they need to make it better. They want to make it look better to a certain degree. And so things are going to change, right? I don't think we can get away from that. However, what really happened was Chapter 2 had some new lighting, had some new graphics, because guess what? Unreal 4 came out Chapter 3? Chapter 2. Something like that, right? So as time went on, because they're using Unreal Engine, and it's developing, and it's going, and we're getting cooler and better looking stuff. You know, let's look at some of these live events, right? Like, they look crazy. These trees look cool, this, that. Then we get to Chapter 3. And do you want to talk about Chapter 3 a bit?
What part are you going for here?
You were talking about how the quality of some of the builds, like Tilted and Shifty, how they're able to find a really good balance that we both agree with.
Like, it still keeps that kind of cartoony theming, you know, some of the geometry of the builds is still kind of like lopsided, which kind of gives it a little bit more character. And yet we still have that really cool lighting. We have high detail on those textures, whether or not they're cartoony. Like, it kind of keeps a good balance of that character versus, you know, going straight into the realism. Like, we have to have these super high definition textures on everything and then make everything like super jagged and kind of look 3D.
So that's up to Chapter 3. And I think up to Chapter 3, you can still tell it was Fortnite. I think you can look at any POI, whether it's super recognizable based on nostalgia like Tilted, you can kind of look at any building and kind of tell it was Fortnite up to Chapter 3. But then it kind of fell off in Chapter 4 with UEFN 5, where we got lumen lighting, which was cool and all. And I see some cool pictures, and let me tell you, I can't tell if it's Fortnite or just one of these other realistic games. Like, I can't tell.
And some people think that's a good thing, but in reality, it means Fortnite is kind of losing its character, right? Like, everybody knows what a V-Buck is, right? Bear with me here. Everybody knows what a V-Buck is. It's kind of like Fortnite's branding. So if I say, I'm going to buy me some V-Bucks, you know exactly what it's for, and probably are judging me for buying them, but that's besides the point. So when you kind of change your style like that and make it more realistic, you're losing that recognition that you would have had prior to that. And when it comes to Fortnite, they kind of need that recognition. That's what they live off of, is that expectation that people know what the game is.
I turn it on sometimes, or I should say turn it off. I normally play with 120 FPS because, you know, I'm more like the competitive side, so I need that more frame rate, right? But I like to turn on 60 just to check it out, and I don't know if I could actually play if I wanted to. Like, if I was stuck at 60, I don't know if I'd find it enjoyable, because it was cool at first, right? It was cool for a season with the fancy graphics, and now I'm sick of it, because again, I'm playing a shooter builder game with all this other stuff. I don't want to focus on the cool sun reflect. I saw a picture, right? And I'm quietly like, I can't look there because the shadow and the shade is too dark. But then if I'm trying to look over here where the sun is, well, I can't see them because it's like the sun and it's too bright and I need sunglasses to see my enemy. Like, I don't want to play a game like that. Now, if you want to, I think you should have the option. I think Minecraft's great, right? You could have that very cartoony feel, but you can turn on RTX and you can make it hyper realistic with all the reflections and stuff. But sadly, Fortnite, and whether that's I don't even know. Do you even think that's a console thing? Because there's an ability to turn off lumens with 120. Do you think there should be an option on console just to turn off lumens themselves but keep 60?
I don't know, because in reality, that's
like,
the only reason it knocks it down to 60 is because lumens take so much more processing power and it wouldn't be able to sustain 120. So if you're turning lumens off, then there's not really much else that comes with it that would require you to remain at 60.
Because I have a fancy monitor now that can run 120, but say I still had my old monitor, I would still be stuck at 60, so I'd have to play with the lighting, and there's no option not to play with that, but I just don't enjoy it. Because like I said,
I see what you're saying.
That's why I'm saying that. If there was an ability to just turn off lumens, I can play 60, which is all I can do, but not have to have all this fancy RTX ray tracing lumen lighting.
Yeah, that makes
and all
sense.
This fancy stuff. That's what I'm going at. Because that's the problem. Like, I quite literally do not want to go back down to 60, not because it's 60, but because of the graphics. Like, I have to have my 120 for the loss of graphics.
Yeah, it's cool to see, but in a competitive game especially, you really don't want graphics to be interfering with your player's gameplay.
Like, I'm getting distracted because the tree's swaying. I'm like, oh, I missed my shot because I had to dodge the tree that is moving. I don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But that's because Fortnite is like, we look at where it came from, Save the World, it's made to be like a cartoon, right? Like, Chapter 1, which I'm still mad about, they removed the little clouds from your feet when you're running. And it's very much supposed to be cartoon. Like, you look at the boxes, it's supposed to be like an old school cartoon. And that's what its purpose is. And now let's go to the purpose of realism, and let's talk about two really cool games. One that's, neither of them are out. One I'm really looking forward to. The other one, we don't know much news. And these two games are called Unrecorded and Subliminal. Where do you want to start with these? I know you've seen Subliminal. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do, yeah. Let's talk about Unrecorded first, because I feel like that's the one most people are going to be familiar with because, it circulated the internet. It took it by storm.
Everyone reacted, and that blew up everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it? Do you remember the trailer?
Yes.
What happened in the trailer?
It's the one he's running through the building, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right,
it's a body cam
yeah.
cop operation.
You basically, your camera is on this person's body as you are running through this building, and because of the technology that they're using and the way that they've set up this camera, they've made it so indistinguishable from reality that multiple people thought this was real body cam footage when it came out. Like, I saw people in the comments like, how is it legal that this is online?
I saw that in the reactions. It's like, there's no way that this is real. And then they had to go in to the video editor and like clip through things to show, yes, this is fake. Or this isn't one of the games. Did you see that burning car?
I think so, yeah.
With UEFN 5. There was a burning car and you could not tell. And what the creator had to do was he had to take one of these like camera beams that people use when making games and slide it through to show, yes, this is in my game engine, like experiment panel, because it is hard to distinguish.
Yeah, and this is a game that is all about that, right? It's all about its realism here, so it's not something that is going to be annoying to players, really, because if you're downloading this game, you know what you're getting.
Exactly. That's that's what I'm saying, like the intent, right? When I'm playing Fortnite, I'm not intending to play real life. I'm intending to play something like cartoony, whereas this, I want to do this. And I actually saw there's going to be some problems. That's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays, because do you know what might get really annoying with games like this? Motion blur. I play with motion blur off in almost all games.
Yeah.
That's not going to have that option, probably.
Yeah.
Imagine real life without motion blur.
Yeah, that wouldn't really make sense.
That doesn't really work. So it's going to be like really interesting to see a lot of these, but that's the intent. Gameplay-wise, that's just the one people know about. But the gameplay-wise that I'm excited about is Subliminal. Do you want to go a little bit that you know? Because I don't know if you've seen both trailers, because like this is the one I'm really
I know I saw
about.
the one. Subliminal is basically, everybody knows the back rooms and the pool rooms and stuff like that. All those liminal spaces and pictures online that you see. Subliminal is basically the game of that, right? You're kind of like lost in these different liminal spaces, and it looks insanely realistic, but also kind of looks almost like a analog horror series in the way that it's designed.
Yes. Especially the one trailer that opened up with like a public service announcement, and you have like a little cartoony, and that, let me tell you, that gave me goosebumps when it just started to go to black and it like the screech, and then the amount of people that didn't know it went to the game, and they said it at the bottom of the screen in-game footage, and nobody believed it.
Yeah.
Until you saw like maybe like the crosshair, right? Like when that kind of starts interacting, you can kind of tell. But even then, it was hard. And sadly I'm not going to be able to play. JJ, do you even think your computer is going to be able to handle this properly?
Probably not.
It's sad, but I want to play this. I can't wait to watch people play this. So
we're kind of like hoping it comes to consoles, like by a miraculous miracle here.
I'd say next gen, like PS6.
Yeah, very possible.
The technology you need for this. So the gameplay itself is, like you said, it's the back rooms. It is randomly generated back rooms, like rooms you're going to go through, except it's hyper realistic with reflections, with chairs. Like it quite literally looks like a video, like an analog video, and it looks so cool. And yeah, so the back rooms, you have monsters, you have puzzles. It's really fun. But again, the point is you're supposed to go into the back rooms. We kind of talked about this earlier with the visuals, but also physical part of it. This, obviously, we cannot go to the back rooms and fight these monsters, can we?
Yeah.
So that's what it's doing. It's not giving us visuals that we can't achieve in real life, because obviously it's real life. We can't play we can't be an anime character, right? So that's where we play games for. Whereas this is giving us that physical, something that we want to do, like Call of Duty, right? If Call of Duty is hyper realistic, like Unrecorded, right?
Yeah.
We want to shoot a gun like real life with the recoil, with the flash and everything, just like real life. This one is letting us play the back rooms and explore these monsters. And it might be one of my most anticipated games. I'm sorry, Hytale looks great, but Subliminal. I got Terraria, I'm fine. I don't got Subliminal.
Yeah, it's very true.
And you said you didn't know anything until I told you, right?
I saw the one clip of Unrecorded, but I heard nothing about Subliminal.
And so the people that don't know, it is currently on Steam, not to purchase. Like there's a page, it's set to release fourth quarter 2023. Here we are with no new trailer, news, or anything. So we don't know when it's going to release. It's an indie project. But like, I am so excited. But again, this will open up a new genre of games that I'm excited to see. But it's that intent. I want to play something because I want to do that, right? Like I want to experience that because of the realism.
Yeah.
I don't want realism to be the norm. I want to choose to play a realism game.
Yeah.
All right, we have like a minute left. Favorite art style and favorite example from that art style?
Wow, what a question to spring unexpectedly.
Right. Ready? Top 3 art styles. And then like an example of each. One example of each.
Borderlands, definitely.
Same. Which Borderlands?
Tiny Tina's specifically.
I was gonna say that too because of the magic, right? The crystals.
Absolutely.
So that's one of our styles. You got 2 more.
Scarlet Nexus. I really like the kind of duality of the high quality but the still anime style.
Okay, so Scarlet Nexus. Would you say no? You said anime, right? Anime. Okay. And then what about third?
Third, Lego. I love what Lego's doing with their kind of plastic look, but still keeping that kind of real lighting.
All right, hyper-realistic, because specifically for Subliminal, I'm so hyped for Subliminal. And honestly, I'm going to say pixelated, because I like that cartoon, so pixelated. I'm going to say Terraria. I think I like the visuals of Terraria more than Minecraft. And with that, make sure you join our Discord, follow, hit the bell on whatever you're doing, follow the Nerd Rant Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and with that, good night.
Bye!